Welcome back to the UnderVerse Record Show, and I am your host, Andrew Balderson. So now you have heard from all of our hosts, myself, Big Lee, and Gabriel Dean. You can tell we all have our own styles, we all have our own tastes, we all have our own way of doing things. We're all a little different, and that's exactly what we're trying to bring to all of you listeners, all of you fans, right here on Radio Roach. So hopefully you guys are digging what we're doing, and you can send us feedback on Twitter at UnderVerse666. So you can send us messages, constructive criticism, tell us anything at all. What do you like? What do you not like? What do you want to see more of? What bands are you digging? Did you hear a band on our show you've never heard before? Now you're a huge fan? That's awesome. Let us know. We want to hear that kind of stuff. So we started today's show out a little different. I didn't start with an intro. I started with a song. The song was Pig Destroyer with their song Loathsome. I love that song, I love that band, and I'm really excited to tell you guys that today's episode will feature an interview with J.R. Hayes, vocalist of the grindcore legends Pig Destroyer. Anybody that knows me personally knows I'm a huge Pig Destroyer fan, so being able to have J.R. on this show was amazing. I mean, it blew my mind. So I hope you guys dig that, but before we go any further, let's check out some more music. So right now, let's get into Rotten with their song, We Are the Damned.
Greetings, this is Jeff from Doubting Thompson, and you're listening to the UnderVerse Record Show exclusively on Radio Roach.
Alright, we kept things pretty heavy there, and why not? This is the episode that features J.R. Hayes of Pig Destroyer, and they are legends as far as heavy goes. We started with Rotten, with their song We Are the Damned. Amazing song, amazing band. They're not that far from me, so I'm hoping one of these days I go check them out live. I'd love to do that. Then we went to Bone Storm with their song Blood Priest. That was a damn good song. These guys are pretty new to my radar, and I'm digging them. And then we went to Gravehuffer with their song Destroyer of Worlds. Most of you know by now I am a huge Gravehuffer fan. I don't think they have a bad song in their catalog. Those guys are just damn good musicians and very, very talented. So I would like to take this opportunity now to thank our sponsors. Of course, I'd like to start with Unsigned Not Unheard, which is the platform for bands and fans alike to be able to engage, to be able to discover music you otherwise would have not discovered in your local scene. It's a worldwide phenomenon, so be a part of it. Check it out. The community is great. We'd love to have you. Our next sponsor is OMP Unplugged, which is the podcast for you to unplug. It's organic. Check it out. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Gabriel is a fantastic host, and he always has very entertaining guests on his show. Then we have, of course, Radio Roach. Without Radio Roach, the UnderVerse Record Show could not exist. This has been the most important element to what we are doing thus far. Robbie is an incredible, fantastic supporter of the UnderVerse, and not enough can be said, not enough praise can be said for what he's doing on his end. And we have a new sponsor this week, which is Dark Days Design. Now, you can find them on Facebook. They are incredible. If you follow Unsigned Not Unheard, then you know that I've used Dark Days Design for a couple of my compilations. He does amazing work at a reasonable price. So if you're in a band, check him out. He does artwork for merchandise, for album covers, whatever you may need. This guy does it, and he's so cooperative, so reasonable. You couldn't work with somebody better. So again, check out Dark Days Design on Facebook, as well as all of our sponsors, Unsigned Not Unheard, Radio Roach, and of course, OMP Unplugged. So, like I said, we have an interview today with J.R. Hayes of Pig Destroyer. It was pretty amazing getting the opportunity, just by chance, to meet J.R. Hayes, and then for him to agree to do this. So that was awesome. And, we played Gravehuffer earlier, so a little side note, I was actually wearing a Gravehuffer shirt when I met JR, and that's actually what kind of sparked the conversation we had. And, one thing led to another, and now you guys are going to experience this interview yourselves, which I hope you enjoy it. So, on that note, let's go into another Pig Destroyer song. Right now, we're going to listen from their album, Prowler in the Yard, their song, Intimate Slavery.
My name is Evie, and you're listening to the UnderVerse Record Show, only on Radio Roach.
All right, we're back. Did you miss me? I missed you. So those were some great songs. Started with Pig Destroyer, with Intimate Slavery. You're going to be hearing a lot of Pig Destroyer tonight because this episode is all about Pig Destroyer. I love them, and you will by the end of this episode, I guarantee it. Then we went to Doubting Thompson with their song What Lies Beneath. It's brutal, it's catchy, they combine the two, and damn does it sound good. Doubting Thompson is one of the best underground bands out there right now, so do yourself a favor, go check them out on Facebook, go check them out on Twitter, and go buy their album from Bandcamp. It's well worth the money, trust me there. Then we went to Slam with their song Eve of Destruction. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Slam fan. And to further that, UnderVerse Records has signed Slam, and their latest release that came out October 6th entitled What Now is the very first release on UnderVerse Records. So please, go support Slam, go support UnderVerse Records, and do your part to support the underground by checking that out. So what's next? We're going to play some more songs before we get into the interview. And we've done a lot of heavy stuff. And most of the show probably will be heavy. I hope you guys are digging that. But in the interest of mixing things up, we're going to mix it up. Our next song is actually going to be more punk. This is going to be Prison City Brigade, which they have been on every single compilation I've released through Unsigned Not Unheard, so I'm clearly a fan. If you are a punk fan, I believe you will like Prison City Brigade. So, do yourself a favor, check out this song, wait till the episode's over so that you're checking every song out, and then go find them on Facebook, go find them on Bandcamp, and support them as well. Alright, let's get into it right now. Prison City Brigade.
Cash out, fucking trickster, smoking mirrors, false riches. Cash out, fucking trickster, smoking mirrors. Come shot somewhere else, larger respect, dog, move along, jump along, that way take it back. Come shit somewhere else, larger respect, dog, move along, jump along, that way take it back. Turning profit off your work, selling bullshit that you buy. Turning profit off your work, selling bullshit. Bullshit somewhere else. Learn to respect. Just move along. Don't belong. That way take it back. Bullshit somewhere else. Learn to respect. Just move along. Don't belong. That way take it back. We have to fight. Yeah!
come and go. Another fluttering time. As the daylight comes too soon. Another endless night. And all I come to believe has all been just a dream. When the seasons will come and go. Another fluttering time. Another fluttering time.
Andrew Balderson is my crazy cool uncle from Unsigned, Not Unheard. And you're listening to the UnderVerse Record Show on Radio Roach. I hate bugs, but I love Radio Roach. Stay tuned, my fellow rockers.
All right, we're here with J.R. Hayes of Pig Destroyer, the legendary grindcore band. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Right on. I'll get right into it. I'm a big fan of Pig Destroyer. I don't know a lot about the history, though. How did Pig Destroyer form, and what were some of your major influences when you first started writing?
Scott used to play guitar in a grindcore band called Anal Cunt. And he actually had agoraphobic nosebleed going at the time that I met him. And I was in a band called Enemy Soil. We did a split with agoraphobic nosebleed, and we recorded with Scott. That was the first time I met him. And he ended up getting a job in D.C., so when he moved down here, he was one of the first people that I was one of the first people that he called. And we just decided to form a grindcore band that was like, you know, kind of to our influences like Brutal Truth, Napalm Death, Carcass, you know, the usual suspects.
Right.
Of course, all the old thrash bands too, like that sort of thing. And we didn't have a bass player for a long time, which kind of people, I guess, get stuck on that. But, you know, we just wanted to kind of do that late 80s, early 90s grindcore power violence thing.
Right. When you guys first started, did you guys think 20 years later you guys would still be doing it and putting out some killer albums to this day?
Oh, no. I mean, it's kind of weird how things happen like that. You know, at the time, you know, you just think you're making a record. You don't know if anybody's going to hear it, much less love it or remember it, you know. It's just another record, you know. And we've been very fortunate that we've had a lot of luck with, you know, our label and, like, just having great fans. And, you know, we don't play a lot of shows, so it's really cool that we've been able to, you know, kind of build the reputation that we have without touring like madmen.
What's the reasoning for not playing so many shows? Is it work schedules or everybody's busy?
Yeah, it's just work and family, and also, I don't think we would have been able to make it through 20 years if we were always hanging out with each other and just, you know, I think the fact that we don't play all the time gives us some space from one another, you know.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that for sure. The last album, Book Burner, I mean, I feel like through every album you guys just grow more and more and more. I love that album. Like, for me, like, that's one of my go-to albums still to this day. I play it constantly. And Baltimore Strangler to me is pretty interesting because I feel like your lyrics are, as far as grindcore goes, I mean, I love grindcore, but for lack of a better term, I don't feel like the lyrics are usually too intelligent, so to speak, you know, but your lyrics are. So, I mean, and Baltimore Strangler is cool to me because I'm an Orioles fan, and you actually mentioned, you know, leaving the news game. That's pretty cool. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say that song was kind of interesting to write because when I first started writing it, it was kind of from the girl's perspective, and then that didn't work, so I started writing it from the guy's perspective, and that didn't work. And then I started writing it about the city. And once I did that, that's kind of when everything came together, you know.
I mean, I think it's awesome. That's one of my favorite songs and the lyrics. I mean, it's a cool story. I love it.
Thanks, man.
What's some of your inspiration for your lyrics? Because like I said, I feel like not even just in grindcore, but in music in general, I feel like you have some of the best lyrics out there. So what's some of your inspiration?
Yeah, I don't pull a lot of lyrical influence from grindcore, but I guess band-wise, it would be like bands like I Hate God and Acid Bath were two big, especially Acid Bath was a huge lyrical influence on me, but a lot of the other stuff comes from Leonard Cohen and Lou Reed and Nick Cave, stuff like that, and then also from literature, French poets and Edgar Allan Poe, stuff like that. A little bit of everything.
That's really cool, really unique blend. I'm really glad you said Acid Bath too. I don't feel like they get talked about enough. I love Acid Bath.
Oh, I think they're one of the greatest metal bands of all time, but they unfortunately, didn't get to. They had a death in the band. They had to break up, and it just, it's one of the great tragedies I think of metal because the two albums that they did are so incredible. I can't even imagine where they would have gone after that.
Yeah.
They could have been as big as they wanted to be. I think.
I agree with you on that 100%. Actually, on the last show that I did for this, the UnderVerse record show, one of the bands is called Train Fight, and they really I'm not saying they sound just like Acid Bath, but you can really hear influence there, so I thought that was really, really cool.
Well, that's one of the cool things about metal is like a band can have a tragic ending like that, and eventually people will find out about them. Metalheads tend to be historians in that way. Like if a record is cool, like people will find out about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. You mentioned like I Hate God and actually when I saw you guys were playing with I Hate God. What's some of your favorite bands that you've played with? Festivals, anything?
Oh, we've been very fortunate. We've gotten to play with, Discordance Axis and Brutal Truth and Napalm, Nausem. A lot of my favorite. We've even got to play with a lot of my favorite Japanese grindcore bands like 324. So we've been very fortunate in that way. A lot of times when we do a show, a lot of it has to do with who we're playing with. Is it a band that we really, want to see and respect and like? That's part of the fun of being in a band.
Right, definitely. That's awesome. You've mentioned Japanese grindcore. I don't know if they're still around, but there's a band I used to like called Butcher ABC. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I know those guys. Yeah.
Are they still around?
They're probably still around. I can't say that for sure. They were around the last time I was in Japan. But I don't know if they're still a band like right now. But
right. I heard of them because of Maryland Death Fest, which you guys are playing this year, right?
Yes, we are. Really excited about that, actually.
That's awesome. It looks like a really strong bill this year.
Yeah. I think they felt like they needed to pull out all the stops and stuff. I'm actually going to be playing it twice because we're doing Enemy Soil reunion also. So.
Oh, really? That's awesome. When you mentioned Enemy Soil earlier, you mentioned the split that you had done. I know they're still around, but I feel like back in the day, splits were really common, a really good way to get your name out, and that's actually something I push on social media a lot when I'm promoting. Like I wish more bands would do splits today because it's just a great way to get your music out there.
Yeah, it is. I think now with the internet, it's just so easy to just put it up there.
Yeah.
And also making a vinyl record can be complicated these days because so many people are trying to make vinyl records, but there's not a lot of places that press them.
Right.
So it can actually be kind of difficult and time consuming to put out a vinyl record.
I can understand that too. Obviously, the industry has changed a lot, but again, that speaks volumes for Pig Destroyer because you guys are still in it 20 years later. So, definitely says something about you guys,
Well, we've always kind of played a long game. We don't pay a lot of attention to what's happening at any given moment. It's more we're just concentrating on what we want to do and what we're trying to get done, and just kind of keep focused on that, and not really worry about what's happening around us.
Right. We mentioned earlier bands that you have played with, and if we're going to talk about the live show, I'll say you're a band that I wanted to see for a long time. So finally get to seen you. Pig Destroyer, that set was,
honestly, I mean, I'm not saying this because you're on the phone with me. I'm saying this because it legitimately was one of the best sets, if not the best set I've ever seen. With that being said, though, is there any bands that you haven't played with, that you want to play with, that you guys are hoping to play with eventually?
You know, bands that are still around.
Yeah.
There's a few. I'd really love to play with Autopsy.
Right.
You know, love to play with Suffocation again, or you know, there's so many. Me and my buddy were just talking about Destruction earlier. I'd love to play a show with Destruction. That would be amazing.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. What do you guys have a new album in the works or anything planned as far as that goes?
Yeah, Scott's got one more song he's got to finish writing, and then we should have all the material ready for the LP. And then it's just a matter of getting Adam ready and getting him in the studio to record the drum tracks, and you know, we'll just build it from there.
Right on, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear that, honestly.
I can't wait to put it out. It's been in the works for a long time.
Right. With back to Book Burner, when you released that, you had a little booklet with that, like a little story. What was the inspiration behind that?
At the time I was doing that record, normally I read a lot of fiction, but at that particular time I was doing a lot of religious study, reading a lot of sacred texts, like watching a lot of debates online and things like that, and so that's just kind of where my head was at the time, and you know, I don't usually, you know, sit around and think about stories to write. It's just that every once in a while something will pop in my head, and that whole thing came together over the course of just a couple of days.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, I know for me, even at that time when that came out, downloads were more popular, and, you know, people weren't buying physical copies so much, but I made sure I went and bought that the day of, and I didn't even know the story was going to be a part of it, so that was just a little bonus for me, you know?
Well, you know, that's one of the reasons why I spend a lot of time on the lyrics and stuff like that, is because I want to give people more to engage with than, you know, I mean, if they just want to download the record and just listen to the music, that's totally fine. But other people, you know, they like to have more to, you know, to kind of attach themselves to, and I like to, you know, to try to feed that, you know, because that's what I like in a record. I like when a record has a great cover, has great lyrics, like the total package, you know. Yeah,
I agree. And, I mean, speaking of covers, I mean, you guys have always had pretty interesting album covers. Have you used the same artist, or do you switch it up?
We switch it up. We've used a few different people. But generally, I just like things that have different colors and themes than the other types of things that are going on in death metal, because I think a cover is a really important part to setting the tone for the record, and it kind of affects the way that people listen to it. You know, if a cover reminds them of something that they've already heard, then maybe the record's going to remind them of something they already heard. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I getcha.
I just want everything to be as unique and individual as possible, you know?
Yeah. Actually, I mean, when Prowler in the Yard came out, I was a little late to the game, I guess, because I hadn't even heard of Pig Destroyer, and that was actually the first album I went out and bought with my first paycheck from my first ever job. And I was at the local FYE, and I came across it. I thought the cover was badass, so I bought it, and I've been a fan since, so in that aspect, the cover really worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Now, when we had spoken that night of the show, you mentioned a band to me from South Africa called Bottom Feeder. And since then, I've checked them out and I've contacted them, and I've promoted them on Unsigned Not Unheard, the promotional page I run. And they're really killer. I really like them. How did you discover them?
I have an old pen pal. I actually don't spend a lot of time online, but there's one guy from South Africa named Nick that I've just kind of been emailing back and forth for probably 10 years now. And, you know, he's always let me know what's going on down in his neck of the woods. And he knows that if a cool band pops up, then he'll send them my way.
Right, that's awesome. Actually, the scene in South Africa, at least in that Cape Town area, it's pretty good. I mean, I've shared a lot of bands from that area, and I like them all. I don't think I've found one I don't like yet.
Yeah, when places are really isolated like that, you get really good bands because they don't have anything else to do except practice together.
Right, yeah, that makes sense, for sure. So part of the show, the UnderVerse Record Show, is I'm one of 3 hosts, and every week we rotate for who the host is.
Uh-huh.
Now, one of our hosts, Big Lee, he actually had a couple questions he wanted me to ask you, as he's a big Pig Destroyer fan as well.
Okay.
So one of them, he's been a fan since Explosions in Ward 6, and he was wondering how your vocals or lyrics have developed since that album.
Well, I think both have developed, I think over time I've kind of, with the vocals, tried to cop a little more of a hardcore punk style, like late 80s, maybe Boston hardcore, that kind of thing, and a little less of just a little less of the death metal vocals and the screaming.
Right. I can hear that in your later work, for sure.
I think Bookburner especially kind of reflects, there's a lot of negative approach influence and things like that. Yeah. Lyrically, it's constantly changing because I'm always reading different things and being influenced by films and books and other records and things like that.
Right. And then his other question, he says that you did a split with a band called Cold Worker a while back.
Yeah.
He's a big Cold Worker fan as well. And
oh, really?
Yeah, he told me they were one of his favorites, at least in the Swedish death metal scene. And he was curious if you guys recorded that split in the same studio or not.
No, that was actually something that the label put together. I think it was actually a 3-way split.
Oh, okay.
With us and Cold Worker and Anti-Gamma from
okay.
Poland. And the label just kind of assembled some random tracks, Japanese bonus tracks and things like that they had, and like put it on a split.
Right.
That was a record that we actually didn't have a whole lot to do with. I didn't even really find out about that one until it showed up on my doorstep.
Okay. Right on.
The record business is funny like that sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, Cold Worker is really dope. The drummer used to be in Nosm, so we know him from that.
Oh, okay, right on. That's awesome. So, outside of grindcore, metal, or whatever subgenres there might be, do you listen to anything else that might be outside of the more aggressive music, I should say?
Oh, I mean, I listen to a little bit of everything.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, country, ambient, old school, like 70s punk rock, 80s hip hop, yeah, a little bit of everything, really. I'm a big reggae guy, too.
Well, we're a lot alike then. I listen to all that, too. When you say country, I assume that you mean like old school country.
I mean, I like some new school people, too, but I just, like with most music, I don't like things that are super produced.
Right.
I try to gravitate towards things that have more of an atmosphere and kind of, that old school kind of honky tonk feel to them,
Right, yeah. I dig that too, actually. That's
one of the things that bothers me about modern production is it's so stale. Yeah. And, part of what makes a record cool is the ambiance of it, one of the reasons why I love the first I Hate God record so much is because it sounds like it was recorded in a dirty house. You know what I mean? Like, it just sounds dirty, Yeah. And I like rough edges in my music. I don't like my music to be too clean.
I'm with you on that.
Even if it's soft music, I prefer it when it's just more natural and lo-fi.
Yeah, I get that for sure. Yeah, like do you as far as like liking that kind of dirty recording and stuff like that? Do you dig like any old school black metal where it's got that really, really raw basement sound to it?
Well, it's funny because I was always, I tried to get into black metal in the late '90s when Emperor and Mayhem and all that stuff was coming out, and it was all kind of fresh and new.
Right.
And it never really did anything for me. I think because I was always more of like a thrash, hardcore punk kind of guy.
Right.
But over the last, I try to be open-minded about stuff. Like my attitude is always like, I don't hate a genre. It's just that maybe I haven't heard the right bands,
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
And, over time, my buddies who are a little more into black metal, like they play me certain things and like, then I get into it. But, I'm kind of late to the party on the black metal.
Right, I get it. Is there any like newer bands you see coming out that you're really into right now?
Just as far as black metal or just anything?
Anything.
Well, actually, Scott sent me a band the other day called Harm Done. I think they're from France, and super awesome, like power violence. Some of their parts sound a lot like Sex Prisoner, which is like one of my current favorite bands.
Oh, right on.
There's a band from outside of Philly called Secret Cutter that's fucking awesome. Too many to list. But you definitely need to check out Harm Done because they are the fucking shit.
Well, I wrote them down so I won't forget. Well, what's Pig Destroyer having in store? You were talking about trying to get a new album. Do you have any other than Maryland Death Fest, any other shows coming up, anything like that?
I think we're trying to do some shows in Southern California and maybe hit San Francisco too. I think that's in December. I think we got some cool bands lined up for that. Might play with Capital Casualties, which would be really cool.
Right on.
But right now we're just trying to take it easy because we really want to get this record in the can and so it doesn't come out too far into next year.
Right.
Because, the thing about a record is even if we finished it tomorrow, it probably wouldn't come out for 6 months. You know what I mean? There's so many things that have to happen,
Right. I get that.
So, we just kind of want to get this thing out, and we're really excited about our new material, so we want to be able to play it live and stuff. So right now we're really just in recording mode.
Well, when that new record comes out, I'll be sure to give a shout out on this show about it so all the fans know just in case.
Nice.
And I know I'll be buying a copy. But I think that's pretty much it. Do you want to plug anything, any social media, anything like that for the band?
No, well, the Facebook is The Real Pig Destroyer.
Okay.
I don't spend a lot of time on social media. I try to keep myself kind of isolated so I can just work on my lyrics and my other shit. But I'm hoping to have my novel out next year, which would be cool. And
what's that called?
It's gonna be called Obscene Samurai.
What's it about?
That's a more complicated question. I haven't figured out exactly how to sum it up yet. It's kind of in the editing process right now, so I should be getting some stern notes from my editor soon, of what I need to change and things like that. So.
Right. Well, I'll keep an eye out for that as well. I definitely, especially after the little story included in Book Burner, I'd definitely like to read that.
Right on.
So, I thank you very much for being a part of this show. It definitely means a lot to me. As a guy who's been a fan for many years, this is an honor for me.
Right on, man. I'm glad I could do it.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night.
You as well.
Take care, dude.
This is Rick from UK metal band Slam, and you're listening to the UnderVerse Record Show, exclusively on Radio Roach.
All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with J.R. Hayes as much as I enjoyed conducting it. It is true, when I first started working 15, 16, however old I was, my very first paycheck that I ever earned myself, I went to the local FYE and I picked up Prowler in the Yard. And I've been a fan ever since. So to have that kind of experience and to be a fan of a band for that amount of time, to be able to interview their vocalist and what is my second ever interview that I have conducted, it's humbling, it's an honor. I hope I did it justice. I hope they're happy with it, and I hope you, the fans, are happy with it, and I hope to just keep giving you interviews and playing you songs that you are enjoying. Now, part of what I do on my episodes is when I interview a band, I want to play extra songs by that band. It's part of me, giving to you guys, because I know when I hear an interview, my mindset is I want to hear more from that band right now. So just like with the Also Known As episode, it's the same with this episode. So there will be more Pig Destroyer played throughout this episode, and bands that I feel like really match well, even if it's not exactly the same style. So next, because we discussed the song in this interview, I think it's appropriate. We're going to play Baltimore Strangler by Pig Destroyer from their album Book Burner. Great song. They mention the Orioles, what's not to love. Check it out. I hope you dig it. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I destroy homes. I tear families apart. I take...
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed Baltimore Strangler. If you've never heard it before, after hearing J.R. Hayes discuss that in the interview, maybe it was a little more interesting for you. It's one of my favorite songs by them, I can tell you that. Then we went to Bottom Feeder, and JR is the one that got me hooked up with those guys, and they are an incredible band out of South Africa. And their song Reptilian it's an amazing song. I hope you guys liked it. And then we went to another South African band, and Devil Speak, and I pushed Devil Speak hard on Unsigned, Not Unheard. They are one of those bands that are just special. They bring the brutality. They keep you interested. They have every element to a thrash style band that you would want to hear. And they are one of my absolute favorites by far. So next we're going to listen to a band out of Alaska. A little bit of a different sound than what we've had most of the show, but like I said, I want to mix it up a little bit. And this band is tremendous. They're called Distance Defined. I've become pretty close with some of the members, and what they do extremely well. And I think a lot of bands try to capture the sound that Distance Defined has, but very few bands can pull it off in the way that Distance Defined does. And that is, for me speaking, a huge compliment. So I hope you guys like it. Here's a song entitled Convalescent by Distance Defined. I hope you dig it. And if you do, don't forget to check them out on Facebook or on the Twitter. Let them know you heard their song on the UnderVerse Record Show, and you loved it.
Waking up with bloodshot eyes, body is shaking from the devil's crisis. Feel like lost battles with my mind, just waiting for the night to come alive. Nothing will survive, never thinking twice. This is my paralytic paradise. Nothing will survive, never thinking twice. This is my paralytic paradise. This is the challenge of a lifetime. Finding yourself is a tall mountain to climb. Inside
UnderVerse Records, the underground universe.
Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed Convalescent by Distance Defined. Those guys are quickly becoming one of my favorite bands in the underground. They have they have amazing production. They have amazing songs. Like I said, they're not the first to play that genre, so to speak, but they've perfected it. Those guys are setting the mark for where all bands of that style should want to be at. I absolutely love that band. Then we played Dustland Express with their song The Poetic Injustice of Rats. Dustland Express is a band based out of South Africa, which we've played a lot of South African bands tonight. And that scene, I mean, in an era where scenes don't exist the way they used to, that scene coming out of the Cape Town area in South Africa it's brilliant. There's so much diversity, yet all of it can easily be played on the same stage, no questions asked. They're all, every band out of there I've heard, they're all bringing it, and not enough can be said for any of those bands at all. Then we played Four Skulls. Four Skulls is a band that has a very different sound from the rest of what we played here tonight. However, the song we played entitled Fight, Die, Bleed certainly made me a fan, and I'm going to be checking them out, looking into them more. I hope you guys do as well. So, don't forget, every band that we're playing here, I want you to find them on Facebook. I want you to find them on Twitter. And I want you to message me on Twitter. I want you to message the UnderVerse Record Show. You can find us at UnderVerse666, or you can find us on Facebook at the UnderVerse Record Show. Message me. Let me know, what bands were you into tonight? What bands would you want to hear an interview from? And I don't want you to just name your band. That's awesome. I'll get to all of you, I promise. But as a fan, what bands do you want to hear interviewed on the UnderVerse Record Show? Because that's truly what I want to know. And, let us know what you think we can improve on. As a fan, what would make this experience more pleasurable for you? I'm listening. I'm always open-minded, especially to constructive criticism. I know a lot of my problem is probably the way I talk at times. Bear with me. I'm growing. I feel like this is better than the first week, which, by the way, I would like to apologize for episode 1. I know the sound quality from my interview with Also Known As was a little shoddy at times, and that's 100% on me. I think I improved that a fair amount with the J.R. Hayes interview. Like I said, each week it's a little bit of trial and error, but each week it'll get better and better. And not enough can be said for Big Lee and Gabriel Dean. I feel like their episodes were done extremely well, and they are really, really tremendous partners to have in what we're doing. So we're going to close this show out. First, we are going to play a song from Lyrian XR. I don't know a whole lot about this band at the time, to be honest, but they're a very, very talented band, so check them out on Facebook, check them out on Twitter. Any music or merchandise they have available, support them, and like I said, that goes for every band we have. The next song after that will be entitled Slipping Space by Agnesis, and I mentioned in episode 1, Agnesis is a killer band out of Australia that support the scene almost as much as anybody, if not more than. And we will close the show with Pig Destroyer and their song Grave Dancer off of the album Terrifier. I truly hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed all the Pig Destroyer songs and the interview with J.R. Hayes. And I hope you tune back next week to hear Big Lee and what he has to say and the bands he will be playing. So, in closing, I will remind everybody, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, and do not forget to buy the brand new Slam album entitled What Now, the very first release from UnderVerse Records. So as always, keep rocking, support the underground, and most importantly, stay infected.
Hi, it's Xan Ritter from thrash metal band Poker Face, and you're listening to the UnderVerse Records show exclusively on Radio Roach.
space, change my face, replace strident scenes, silent screams, truth returns. this living space, change my face, replay.
Why you show me this? Start eyes! What will the line stretch out to the crack of doom?